historian archivist with the Lincoln Fellowship of Pennsylvania. The 100 Nights of Taps Gettysburg is sponsored by the Lincoln Fellowship of Pennsylvania, the Gettysburg National Military Park, in partnership with Taps for Veterans, the Gettysburg Licensed Battlefield Guide, and the Eisenhower National Historic Site. I'm honored to introduce tonight's bugler, Kenneth Blair II from Landisburg, Pennsylvania, tonight's bugler. All of our buglers are volunteers for this program, different bugler every evening. They come from all over the United States. They pay their own way here. So dedicated individuals like Kenneth, that this program can exist. This is his 7th year coming here to sound tabs with us. And this is the 8th year of the program. So please welcome Kenneth. Other quick introductions. I'd like to introduce Wendy Ellen. She is the president of the Lincoln Fellowship of Pennsylvania and the founder of 100 Nights of Taps Gettysburg 8 years ago. And then we have a team from the fellowship that is here every evening to conduct the program. Scott Burkett, one of our presenters. He's a member of the board of directors of the fellowship. Sandy Tuscan, our photographer, takes beautiful pictures every evening. They're on our Facebook page. So look us up on Facebook, 100 Nights of Taps. This evening, we walk through this beautiful national cemetery, guided by pathways that brought us here to Soldiers National Monument. While walking along these pathways, we were guided and surrounded by the graves of fallen heroes and their enduring stories of sacrifice and sorrow, as well as extraordinary bravery. And those same pathways converge here to the place where in 1863, President Abraham Lincoln delivered the Gettysburg Address, considered one of the greatest speeches of all time. Gettysburg National Cemetery's pathways are America's pathways that guide us, enduring pathways that guide us through our history. For our educational component of the program, we refer to as an enduring pathway. And tonight we're delighted to have one of our close friends of the program, a colleague, a distinguished licensed battlefield guy here at Gettysburg, Fran Dion.
Well, welcome. July 1st, 1863, where you're standing right now, was a place of confusion and destruction. As daylight bleeds into night, the first day's battlefield west of the town of Gettysburg is going to be the site of what we believe is 16,000 casualties. Among those casualties, Union General John Fulton Reynolds will be killed. Fast forward now to the early morning hours of November 19th, 1863. Abraham Lincoln has arrived the night before. He's come to dedicate this cemetery, but in the morning he decides he wants to go see the battlefield, and particularly where Reynolds was wounded. He goes out to the first day's battlefield. Abraham Lincoln is only going to give 7 speeches outside of Washington City, and he's here to change the direction of the nation. For 2 years, he's been president of a nation that was supposed to have a civil war that would be over in 30 days, and the blood could be cleaned up by a pocket handkerchief. And now it is raging on, and it is not making sense. Why are we killing our best and our brightest and our youngest? Why are we doing this? If you asked Lincoln before this speech, he would tell you to preserve the Union, and it's not making sense. Dear God, it has to be something more than just to get a better price when you trade tobacco for hay. It has to be something more. He's been sent here to deliver his Gettysburg Address. I don't know if you've ever listened to that address closely, but the language is simple. 75% of the words are 1 syllable. 95% of the words are 2 syllables. It is organized, past, present, and future. He made it simple so people like this young lady here, and this young man here, and this young man would understand it. It would be a speech for the ages. He's going to not be the main speaker, but he'll listen for 2 hours as the main speaker. Edward Everett talked about the battles of Gettysburg. His speech, 13,609 words. Lincoln is sitting there, and all these thoughts are running through his head. In his speech, he's going to use the word here 8 times. Lincoln realized that here something had changed. Here the nation was going to have to recommit itself to the principle 87 years ago that this nation is founded on. All people would be created equal. He's going to rise a little after 2, pull his speech out, 2 pieces of paper, one in pencil, one in ink. He's going to look out at the crowd of 15,000 people. His hat's off, his reading glasses below his nose, and he will begin. 407 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty, and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now, we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether this nation, or any nation, so conceived and so dedicated, can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We've come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that that nation might live. It's altogether fitting and proper that we should do this in a larger sense. We cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here, consecrated it far above our poor power to add or subtract. The world will little note nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living rather, to be dedicated here to the great task that remains before us. That from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause to which they gave the last full measure of devotion. We here highly resolve that these soldiers have not died in vain, and that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, a government of the people, by the people, for the people shall not perish from the earth. We meet near the spot where he said that, and Lincoln calls out to you folks that we have to finish the great task that remains before us. And for our young people in the audience, Abraham Lincoln is talking to you tonight. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Once again, we are honored to welcome Kenneth Blair II, tonight's bugler. Kenneth has played trumpet cornet for over 60 years. Graduated from Westchester University with a degree in music education. He has been a piano technician for over 40 years. He's a member of the Greenwood Community Band, the Carlisle Brass Band. He has played in the pit for numerous musical productions, played in church groups, and also performed as a soloist. He has performed taps with the Perry County Honor Guard for military service for more than 16 years. As I said before, this is his 7th year coming to Gettysburg for 100 nights. Thank you again. We meet here in Gettysburg National Cemetery, so we shall never forget our brave American veterans. We remain steadfast in our dedication to the great unfinished work which those who fought here, as well as in many foreign lands, so nobly advanced. And we honor that they gave the last full measure of devotion so that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom and the government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. got 5 years ago. We started honoring one soldier buried here in Soldiers National Cemetery, the Civil War section. And we honor that soldier every evening. And then he comes to represent all the soldiers buried here. And we put an image of that soldier on our commemorative coin, which we award to our bugers and other participants. Scott is walking by with a boa as a coin. And the soldier we're honoring this year is Second Lieutenant Edmund Baskin, the 2nd New Hampshire Volunteer Infantry Regiment. I want to tell you just a little bit about Lieutenant Baskin. He was born on November 11, 1837 in New Hampshire. He attended Tufts University, but was unable to finish. He had suffered severe eye ailments that caused him to go blind for weeks at a time. He recovered from this disorder, and he spent 5 years as a teacher. And during that time, he took up poetry and oration, hobbies that are going to sustain him through the rest of his life. Lieutenant Bascom, he enlisted in the 2nd New Hampshire Volunteer Infantry Regiment on May 21st, 1861. He fought with the 2nd New Hampshire at the Battle of First Manassas and the Battle of Williamsburg. At the latter battle on May 5th, 1862, he was dangerously wounded and many thought he would die. He recovered and lived on to fight another day. And at Gettysburg with the 2nd New Hampshire on July 2nd, 1863, the 2nd New Hampshire was overrun by Confederates with Joseph Scarfe peach orchards right down the road here on Emmitsburg Road. There he was shot and wounded. His regiment retreated, leaving him lying on the field among the dead. On July 5th, 3 days later, the survivors of the 2nd New Hampshire returned to the peach orchard. He was still alive and taken to a field hospital, but he died 8 days later. Now, reportedly, his last words were, "I enjoy the sweet consciousness of always having striven to do my duty." His comrades first buried him near the field hospital, and later that autumn he is reinterred here in Soldiers National Cemetery. He's Brave 11, Section A down here in the New Hampshire plot to my right. We placed a small flag by his grave site this evening if you'd like to pay your respects after the present. I'd like to award the coin to Ben. Thank you, sir. Well, we sound taps every evening here at 7 p.m. Please join us again if you can. Also, on November 19th, if you could join us, the Lincoln Fellowship sponsors the annual Dedication Day ceremony. Great program. We have music and so forth. Our keynote speaker this year is Dr. Greg Simon from the Annapolis, Professor Emeritus in History at the Naval Academy in Annapolis. Before we close this program this evening, I'd like to invite any active duty military personnel, veterans, reservists, National Guardsmen and women, please come forward and stand with Ben and myself so that you can be recognized.